in a series in Galatians. So we're in Galatians chapter 4. That's where we're going, chapter 4. Chris did a great job last week. I heard good things. I was sick most of the week. Came back from, not really Palm Springs area, and then L.A. to see our son Brock. It was awesome. So thanks for letting us get away and see him and getting to see his church that he's a part of, Cathedral Church there in Pasadena. Just what a wonderful, it was such a wonderful time. It was a really good time, inspiring to see another community, another church. They're going on 10 years, and just the Spirit of God, the joy in that place was so good. It was so awesome. They meet in a neighborhood in a former house that they've converted into a church. And so this is a little bit bigger space, but it reminded me of just us and how we're starting. There's a lot of light, a lot of joy, a lot of community. So a lot of youth out there, a lot of young people, which made my question of how are they surviving with all these young people? They don't have anything. But God is meeting their needs. And so he's doing some great things. So we've got some new friends in ministry as well, the great senior leaders out there. In 1997, in the summer of 1997, I remember setting my alarm for about 2 a.m. every single night, that whole summer. In fact, it was really started in the early spring all the way into the mid-fall. And I would set my alarm for 2 a.m. and I'd wake up and I'd reach for my little mini fridge and I would drink a chalky protein shake because I had goals. Coming out of high school, I wanted to gain some weight. And so I'd smash this chalky chocolate protein shake, and I'd proceed to rise at 6 a.m., and I would head off to my landscaping job, and I'd work my landscaping job, and I'd get off right at 3 p.m. every single day on the dot, and I'd drive fast as I could right to the gym, 3:30 to at least 6, if not later. We put 2.5 hour marathon workouts 6 days a week. I would do this. Lunch was generally composed of as much pizza as I could eat because Gambino's had a pizza buffet, and it was awesome. And I would just smash almost every. And believe it or not, back then for college to do was $5. So $5 pizza buffet. I don't know how you can beat it. Pizza buffet and a small drink for $5. And so I would do that. And then when after I'd work out, again, another protein shake, smash that. The goal was to get these incredible pumps, tear your muscles apart. Does it sound fun? Anybody else sound fun to anybody? So sore that basically you couldn't reach the back of your ear. You couldn't touch your ears. And then that getting off the toilet was an experience. Follow that up with what came out in the late 90s was designer protein. It was an egg-based protein that tasted horrible, and it wouldn't mix. No matter what you did. You could throw it in a blender, and it unbelievably wouldn't mix, right? Also, the other thing that I found interesting is in your protein shaker cup, which we didn't really have shaker cups back then yet. Not quite. I don't know why. We had cups, but I would have this special cup, and it literally took off the film, the plastic in the inner center. So it literally, about 2 weeks into it, I was like, where'd the coating on my cup go? Yeah, the protein. What's in it? We don't know. But that's what we were told to do, and so I would do it. And then my dad, who so graciously was providing all the food, I would eat 2 chicken breasts, 3 cups of rice, 1 cup of green beans, handful of amino acids and vitamins, splash of creatine for good measure, Chris, and then do it all again the next day, 6 days a week. The mantra in the head was no pain, no gain. Pain, and then I had this other mantra, pain is just weakness leaving the body. You ever heard that one? Those 2 mantras were running through my brain. I had goals, and I was going to put my body through pain to reach those goals. How many can identify with that or something like that? How many of you can identify something different, that you did something painful because you knew on the other end it was going to be worth it? Maybe not that, because I know most of you are hearing that going, is he okay? What's wrong with him? I gained 20 pounds that summer of lean muscle. I went from 195 to 215. I came in to basketball season. The assistant coach's wife didn't recognize me. The guy that they recruited, she was like, who's that new kid? And he said, that's Curtis. And she's like, no. And so I had gained pectoral muscles. I had measurable biceps. I don't know if you know there's such a thing, son, as measurable biceps. There's a point to where you don't need to measure them. And there's a point where you get measurable biceps. And then I had abdominals. I had it all. The pain was worth it. I'm telling you this for a point. The pain is worth it. Not all pain is self-induced for ultimate personal gain, though. When we know that the pain will lead to something wonderful, we may suffer. But the funny thing is, even when we know the pain is worth it, and that we know that it may lead to beauty, some of us still, we push away from the pain, right? Believe me, I've trained for long enough. I've trained for 20-something odd years, and I know. I tell people, if you just do this, and it's like when we weigh it, we're like, oh, that sounds hard. That sounds painful and difficult. But I know each of you have suffered in some way in life, and some of it has been self-induced for a measurable goal, and that it would equal something. But much of pain in life comes, and we don't seek it out. We don't expect it. We try to avoid pain, but pain seems to find us. Pain is a connector, I believe, in life. It's one thing that can connect all of humanity. Nobody escapes it. Nobody escapes pain in some form or fashion. The greatest pain that I'd ever known in 7th grade is when my girlfriend broke up with me. And that was one of the greatest pains when she broke up with this. I thought I was going to marry this girl. I was a mess. Are you glad? Are you glad? Yeah. And I remember my brother-in-law coming in, because I remember my dad just rolling his eyes at this situation. I remember it very clearly. And I go in my bedroom, and I'm like, laying on the bed. I'm like, oh, how could she break my heart at the dance, at the school dance? She humiliated me, right? And he comes in, and he's like, hey, bub, it's going to be all good. I know you think this hurts now, and it does, but it's going to be good. Because he knew this ain't all the pain that you're going to experience. Like there are things that are much worse than this. How many of you can identify with that, or how many of you have had a child that they're like, it's like the most pain, you're like, come on, man. But they're just devastated. How many of you this past week or month have overreacted? Like something has been, it's not that big a deal, but you're like, why? Sometimes it's just it's just enough pain that you can't take it. It's that one more thing that it's like, why? Why is this happening? There's one connector in life. It is this pain. It's not all self-induced, and much of it is stuff that comes our way that we're not looking for. Galatians, let's look at Galatians today for some answers surrounding. I think we can find some answers surrounding pain. What do we do with our pain? What do we do with the others' pain, and what is the purpose? Galatians chapter 4, verse 12. Brethren, I urge you to become like me, for I became like you. You have not injured me at all. You know that because of physical infirmity, I preached the gospel to you at the first. In my trial, which was in the flesh, you did not despise or reject, but you received me as an angel of God, even as Christ Jesus. What then was the blessing you enjoyed? For I bear you witness that, if possible, you would have plucked out your own eyes and given them to me. Have I therefore become your enemy because I tell you the truth? They zealously court you, but for no good. Yes, they want to exclude you, that you may be zealous for them. But it is good to be zealous in a good thing always, and not only when I am present with you. My little children, for whom I labor in birth again until Christ is formed in you. I love that verse. We'll get to that later. I would like to be present with you now and to change my tone, for I have doubts about you. Your first point, you can just put really bold if you're writing notes, if you're taking notes, or you're ingrain this in your head and in your heart. There is purpose in the pain. There is purpose in the pain. I love this. I love this truth, because if not, then man, I got a lot of questions then. I got a lot of questions in life, but I choose to believe this truth. There is purpose in the pain. Paul starts off, brethren, I urge you to become like me, for I became like you. You have not injured me at all. He is talking to the Galatians when he preached originally in the area of Galatia, this was the place that sought to stone him, to beat him, to reject him. They ultimately stoned him to death in Lystra. Do you remember this in Acts? I don't know if you remember this. You can go back to our series in Acts. Paul was stoned to death. And he says, I love it. This is like a flex. You have not injured me at all. You know that because of my physical infirmity, I preached the gospel to you at first. There's a wrestling match with theologians on this, and I don't want to get too deep into this. I got too deep into it with my wife, and she was confused, and so I don't want to confuse you. Thank you. He says that you know because of my physical infirmity, I preached the gospel to you at first. Paul reveals that in his initial mission to Galatia, it wasn't perfectly and strategically planned. How many of you know that our life is not perfectly and strategically planned sometimes? We want it to be. How many of you want it to be? Yeah, you set course and you're like, oh, this is what I'm doing. And then, bam, something comes your way and you're like, well, no, hold on now. That is not supposed to be happening. And this is what happens to Paul. So the exact nature of the bodily ailment or the infirmity is it's debated amongst theologians. I have a deeper truth, I believe. I believe that as I sought to really understand this deeply, perhaps they say, perhaps it was an eye condition, perhaps it was malaria that led him, a sickness. He refers to this thorn in the flesh in Corinthians, and we'll get to that in a second. But he says, I come to you because of physical infirmity I preached. But we know that as he came to Galatia with Barnabas and they preached, Paul was continually persecuted and beaten. And then he was stoned to death. And after the stoning to death, he was raised back to life. And what does Paul do after he's raised back to life? What does he do? He returns and preaches the gospel. This is what he does. He's stoned to death. They think he's dead. Christians, the believers, the followers of the way, rally around him. He rises back up, and then he goes, you know what we're going to do? We're going to do it again. The very thing that got me stoned to death, I'm going to go do that again. He returns, and then he says to Barnabas, it's good that we go back. So they turn around, they go back, because if you look, this is, man, I didn't see this before, but I see it now. There were many that were initially met with the gospel with joy. How many know there are many that meet it with joy? But there weren't disciples made. There weren't disciples made until he rose from the dead, until Paul rose and went back. Miracles, signs, and wonders, but then disciples were made when he returned. And he returns and miracles are poured out. No disciples. After his stoning, he goes back, disciples are made. Many disciples are made. Initially, it's received with joy, but then the joy quickly got convoluted, and there were Judaizers and there were teachers of the law that came in and perverted and got people riled up, and what did they do? They stoned him. Initially, they said, we love you, we love you, we love you. Oh, you're amazing. In fact, they wanted to exalt him as a god. If you look in Acts, in the book of Acts, Paul and Barnabas, they exalted as Zeus and Hermes. Do you remember this in the series that we went through? They were like, oh, they're gods. And they wanted to exalt him. And they quickly went from exaltation to wanting to kill them. And now it is reasonable, I believe, it is reasonable to believe that Paul could have suffered effects from being stoned. Would it be reasonable to believe that Paul being stoned to death, what do you suppose you'd look like after being stoned to death? Not good. Now, I believe God performed a miracle and raised him from the dead, but is it reasonable to believe that he could have had effects from being stoned and beaten? I think it's reasonable. Raised to life, but still suffering effects or pain. You and I raised to life, but we still endure pain. We don't like this though. We know I'm raised to life, I'm Christ, no pain. No. Notice I'm not saying sickness, and I'm not saying sickness for a reason. Because I don't receive that Paul was sick. Why I don't receive that is because Paul's whole ministry was a ministry of miracles, healings, casting out demons, healing the sick, just as Jesus had done. I believe that Paul, his thorn in the flesh, here's what it says in 2 Corinthians, and what the connection is between Galatians. It says in 2 Corinthians 12, lest I should be exalted above measure by the abundance of the revelations, a thorn in the flesh was given to me, a messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I be exalted above measure. Concerning this thing, I pleaded with the Lord 3 times that it might depart from me. And he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, most gladly, I would rather boast in my, here it is again, infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Therefore, I take pleasure in infirmities and reproaches and needs and persecutions and distresses for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Nowhere in there is it say sickness. Why? I think this is important for us. I think this is important because the suffering that is coming into his life is through persecution, distresses, reproaches, because he's preaching the gospel. He's preaching the gospel, church. He has a revelation. Paul has a revelation, an abundance of revelation. And it says that a thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Satan to buffet, he would be this thorn in the flesh, persecutions. Satan is, how many of you know this? Does God work through people? Does Satan work through people? You better believe it. And so there's a messenger of Satan. Everywhere Paul went, Satan would utilize people, stir them up to persecute this man, to come at this man. I'm telling you, the enemy will do the same thing in your life. He will do the same thing. He will stir up people against you. He'll do it. He'll try to get people stirred up to hinder you, to reproach you, to talk bad about you, to do these things. Some of you have experienced this. Some of it happens within the body. Some of it happens right within the church. Man, we have to fight for unity. We have to fight for unity, church. We have to do the one another's, love one another, forgive one another, admonish, pray for one another. We have to do these because the enemy wants to slip in and go, no, judge one another. Right? And he doesn't say, he says it in a slippery way, right? He says it because admonish means what? What does admonish mean to do? Correct. It means to correct somebody. So we were joking about the other day, right? I was saying, you're judging me, and then you're like, you're a judgmental person, or I was making a joke, and she's like, are you judging my judgmentalness? I was like, I guess I am. Shoot. Paul had received these great revelations for the church and trusted with much. These thorns in the flesh, the messenger of Satan to buffet him, persecution, pain, not self-induced, but self-endured through the power of Christ. Not self-induced. You see, we have a lot of pain that's self-induced. Quit giving the devil credit for that one. Quit giving the devil credit for the self-induced pain that we have in our life. The poor decision. Sin brings about sickness of the soul. That ain't on him. That's on me and you. We make choices. This is not condemning. This is actually freeing. Because when we stay close to Jesus, he made much of sin. He made so much of sin, God did, that he sent his son. Now, it's not about, I know, because this is what we started. We started Galatians. We started this. You remember this journey. We started it that way. He made so much of it that he sent his son. Don't again fall under the law. Don't again fall prey to the Judaizers. Chris talked about this. To another gospel. Don't do it. Jesus himself, though, told Ananias. Do you remember this? He told Ananias, go when Saul became Paul, and he gets blinded. Okay, so some theologians, very few, but some will be like, oh yeah, he had effects of blindness. No, he was completely healed. God blinded him for purpose. So sometimes I believe God will blind you. I'm going to use this usually. Blind you for a purpose. He will humble you so he can get more of you. He needed all of Paul. He needed all of him. So he said, boom, he blinds him. You remember this? Knocks him off his donkey, right? He was a donkey. Right? Knocks him off onto his, yeah. So he does this, and then he blinds him, and then he sends Ananias, and he says, go, because I love this. The Lord says to Ananias, he goes, go, for he is a chosen instrument of mine to carry my name before the Gentiles and kings and the children of Israel, for I will show him how much he must suffer for the sake of my name. Now, when we read that, sometimes we start to connect Galatians with it. Paul was sick, and see, sometimes God will call you into sickness. I'm not there, church. I just want you to know as a pastor, I'm not there. I believe that we are healed. I believe that Jesus' blood was to cover us completely from sickness. I don't believe that's the suffering. Now, do you get sick? Absolutely. Was I sick this week? Yes, I was. I was sick this week. And oh no, you shouldn't have gotten sick. No, that's not what I'm saying. Please don't hear that either. You'll never get sick. I'm not a pastor that's going to say that either. You will never get sick. No, you live in the natural. You're going to get a cold. You're going to get things. You're going to get things. I understand that. But listen, I do not believe that he is calling us, and he called Paul to walk with sickness all the days of his life. Suffering is different. Suffering for the name of Christ is different. He said, I'm going to show you how much you're going to suffer. Suffering, listen, suffering doesn't mean you are in sin. Sometimes we equivalent that, right? Job was suffering, and they were like, what'd you do? I mean, has anybody felt that way? You're going to suffer in life, and you're like, what did I do? What did I do, God? No. And suffering is not ungodly, and suffering doesn't mean you're in sin if it is for the sake of Christ. Self-induced suffering, though, that's not holiness. Are you hearing me, church? Self-induced suffering, that's not holiness. Sometimes we induce suffering to look more holy. Give you an example. If you fast, and I hope you do continually, please, though, don't suffer and tell people that you're fasting. And that, hey, I'm fasting. It's so hard. It's so hard, but I'm suffering for the Lord. There's your reward right there. You just got your reward. The way that person felt and was like, oh my God, you're so holy. That's your reward. That's it. Do you hear me? Hear me. If you're doing it for him, do it for him. Wash your face, get cleaned up. People don't even know. But we itch to tell, don't we? Am I the only one? I'm on day 5 of I'm not. But if I'm day 5 of fasting, I just want to tell, I made it day 5. I got to tell somebody. Don't do it. Don't trade what the Lord has for you for such a temporary feeling of like, yeah, somebody knows how holy I am. It's not holiness. It's not true holiness. Suffering so that you appear to be more holy is not godliness. 1 Corinthians 2, 1-5, it says this, and when I came to you, brothers, I did not come proclaiming to you the testimony of God with lofty speech or wisdom. This is Paul speaking to the Corinthians. I want you to hear this and connect Galatians, how he came to the Galatians, and he says it's with an infirmity, and he'd come to the Galatians preaching the gospel with power. He had rose from the dead. He'd been stoned to death. He had rose from the dead, and he's making disciples. He's preaching the gospel and making disciples. And then he tells the Corinthians this. Later he says, for I decided to know nothing among you except Christ Jesus and him crucified. And I was with you in weakness and in fear and much trembling. Why weakness? Why fear? Why trembling? Persecution. Would it be the natural thing for Paul to have a little fear and trembling if people are constantly trying to kill him? I think so. And my speech and my message were not implausible words of wisdom. You're telling me that Paul, the teacher of teachers, the Pharisee among Pharisees, Mark, you're telling me that he just said, my speech is not plausible words of wisdom? A man that's all he learned and did. But yet he says, why? I believe that Paul suffered such effects from being stoned to death that it changed. It changed this. It changed the way that he communicated. It humbled him because he took great pride as a teacher of the law. Larry, he took great pride that he could expound on the law. He could speak. He could do these things. I believe it changed him and humbled him in such a way that he no longer came with the confidence of his own speech. He came with the confidence of Christ in him, revealed through him and in power. Now it wasn't about what he said, it was about what the Lord was going to do. It's not about how well he can speak. It's about the Holy Spirit moving. And that's how Paul came. He says, I came not in that, but in demonstration of the Spirit and of power, so that your faith might not rest in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God. In the power of God. It humbled this man. This man was he could boast. He could boast. He was a teacher. He knew. He memorized all the scriptures. He knew it all. But he's making this. This is why I'm putting this together for us this morning. Because I believe it's connected. I believe these scriptures that he's talking to are all connected. It's not separate. It's not he's sickness. It wasn't he's wrestling a sickness. He was coming in an infirmity of constant persecution, being pressed and persecuted, abandoned but not destroyed. God, he came through the power of God. He's raised to life. And Paul testifies that God worked through his condition to preach the gospel to the Galatians. His infirmity, it says, that couldn't thwart God's plan to use him to make disciples of all nations, which is what Jesus commanded us to do in Matthew 28. Go make disciples of all nations. He didn't call us to go preach in power, and in your man-made power. He didn't call you to preach in your authority, your good, your amazing skill set. He didn't call you to go stir up men and women and get them excited about me. He called us to what? Make disciples. This is the turning point. I see it now. This is the turning point in Paul's ministry. It took him being literally stoned to death. Stripped of some of the confidence in the flesh, pain, but it produced something. Pain produced something. Pain produced power. Every time in your life, I believe if we're willing to lean into it, pain in our life can produce power. The enemy came attacking Paul, persecutions, evildoers. The enemy works through people, as we said earlier, and the Lord works through people. People can cause pain, but God redeems it. Listen, church, everything is not good. Pain because of abuse, not good. And yet God redeems it, restores the individual, snatches them from the clutches of the evil one time after time, so that he might fulfill the plans and purposes of the one who calls him out of darkness and into his marvelous light. That's my story, and that's my God. That's my story. God has snatched me from the clutches of the evil one. Has he snatched you from the clutches of the evil one? Has he? Whoo. Come on now. If you don't know that he's done that, have you met him? Because he has snatched me from his clutches. Where has the enemy attacked you and caused pain, church? I can still, there's a closet that I can still, if I close my eyes, I can still be in that closet where abuse entered my life. That no young person, and I have some kids in here, so I'll say things differently, but you adults understand that no young person should ever go through. And wires in the brain got crisscrossed because that shouldn't happen. At almost 11 years old, 11 years old, going about 10 and a half, but 11, that should not happen. Should be touched in those ways. Shouldn't have that veil torn away. Innocence robbed. Innocence. I can still see it. I can still, everything about it. The enemy would like nothing better right there to snatch away one of the Lord's. But that's not my story. That's not my story. Now, it is my consistent choice to receive the healing that Jesus offers. We can push away from that. The pain, what it wants to do is cause you to isolate, hide, run, dismiss it. I'm good. Get angry, do all these things. But there's a scripture that says a healing is the children's bread. And I am a child of God, so give me that bread. I want all that bread. I want to eat. I want to carb up. I want healing that he has to offer, church. And so those pain mantras, I want you to go back to the story that I started, because that wasn't the only reason I was doing what I was doing. What I was doing back then was because I was trying to heal. I had made internal vows that nobody will do that to me, and I will show everybody. And so I'll be I'll buff up my body, I'll be a man, I'll be strong, I'll be able to protect myself because nobody protected me. Lord didn't protect me, adults didn't protect me, so I'll protect me. Go ahead. So I became angry, I became rough, I became so different in that season, so different. Came like a classic meathead. That's why I jokingly say I'm a recovering meathead. Hi, my name is Curt. I'm a recovering meathead. And so we have a choice to change the narrative. So the narrative was no pain, no gain, right? No pain, no gain. So now I'm going to self-induce pain for my own personal gain, right? So I was in pain, so now I'm going to self-induce my own pain. How many of you've done this, trying to self-medicate and heal yourself? You're going to work yourself like a dog to earn, to overcome that you're worthless, or you feel worthless. So now I'll earn. I don't care how many hours it takes. I don't care how much I have to do. It's a different kind of pain. It's still pain. I'm going to do this, right? Pain is just weakness leaving the body, right? So we dismiss pain. We dismiss it. So people talk about their pain and go, bro, that ain't nothing. That ain't nothing. I got a shirt on this, don't worry. That ain't nothing. Let me show you this. What happened in 1972. 1972. Yeah, I was out hunting. Right through me, Mike. Took some gunpowder, lit it on fire, closed up the wound myself. Wait, wasn't that in Rambo? How about this? This is the new phrase for you. This is the new phrase for me. There can be the possibility. There can be great beauty through great pain. There can be. Could it be that through my story of great absolute pain, that there can be beauty? Absolutely. With him there is. With him there is. Now, I can see that room, and it's so twisty because I can see that closet, and I can see where the worst thing that I've ever had happen to me happened. And I asked Jesus, where were you? And he goes, I was right there. Now, that's twisty because you say, well, why didn't he do anything? That's not the way I see it. The way I see it is that God did not turn his face from me. That God stood in the very nastiest ordeal, and he sat right there and he wept. And he said, I have plans and purpose for you. He has good works for you that he says, I hold in the palm of my hand. And he says, if you're willing, I'll take that pain and I'll make something beautiful. He'll do it in your life too. It's not just for me, it's for you too. Can you see God's divine providence? His providence is this: protective care of God, the timely preparation for future eventualities. You see, God knew what I didn't know. God knew I'd be here preaching the gospel to you. God knew. And he's like, oh no, this isn't how the story's going to end for him. Oh, enemy, you might have worked through somebody to bring abuse. You might have worked through somebody to bring pain, but I have purpose for him. I have purpose for her, for you. He has purpose for you. Even through the pain, he can redeem it. If we allow him that space, and you got to allow him. How about this tongue twister? God's providence provides power through pain. Say that like 10 times. God's providence, his protectiveness, Listen, his protective care, you believing what we just sang earlier, I trust in God when things are great. I trust in God when my bank account's full. I trust in God even in the pain, even in the thing that I don't understand, that don't make no sense. Even when I step down and break my foot in the middle of my yard, right? Mike's with us. You guys don't know Mike. He's back with us, and I'm so grateful that he's here. But he told me that story of stepping down the yard, break foot, and you're like, what? Like something you've done 1,000 times? I've been there. I've stepped it the wrong way, hamstring goes. I'm like, why, Hammy? Why? Now, when you get in your 40s, you got to watch them. These little boogers, man. I don't know what it is, but, man, you ever watch at the Royals game when they got a 40-year-old man and they're going to run him? And I'm like, oh, this will be good. I get excited because I'm like, pulled Hammy. I'm just waiting, right? 3 quarters in, the man's in full stride. I'm going, there he goes. Pow. You ever had that happen, though, where maybe it's not a hamstring, it's not a leg, but something where you just like, pain enters. Pain enters, and you're going, what is happening? I went to bed last night, good. I wake up, pain. Those are funny things, but then there's real things that happen in our life. Loss of jobs, children getting sick, loss of a loved one. Do we believe that God has his protective care in the midst of pain, that he will bring about timely preparation for future eventualities? My God was, even in the midst, he said, oh, that happened, he didn't do it, but I'm going to take that, and I'm going to prepare this man to preach to the vulnerable, to the weak, to the broken, to the abused. I'm going to take what enemy, oh, you thought you were going to rob this man, I'm only going to take that and prepare this man and equip this man even more so. The one you thought you got, he's going to make 100. He's going to reach 1,000. Are you hearing me today, church? This is what God does. The enemy thinks he's got you defeated, but God's like, oh my goodness, we got to do this again. I got to count backwards again. 10, 9, 8, 7, 8. He's up. He's risen. The count goes backwards. I love it. It's a champion. It's Carmen's song, The Champion, when he starts counting backwards. That's what the Lord's doing constantly in our life, where the enemy thinks he's knocked you out. When the enemy thinks he's produced something, he's got the TKO. God's like, I'm about to bring him back up. Paul, go ahead and get back up now. I love it. Paul's down. They go, we got him. And then the saints rally, and God's like, all right, get up. It's time to go to work now. It's time that you not only move in power for supernatural and for wonders and for miracles, but now you're going to make disciples. Now you're going to make disciples. We're going to put these both together. And he wants you and I to walk in this same power. Hello? He wants you and I to walk in this same demonstration of power that Paul was walking in. But I believe there's suffering that will come with it. Suffering, true suffering. But in this day and age, we have self-induced. We were just talking earlier about all the things that we put in our body and our shock that it causes. Church, hello, are you hearing me today? All the things we put in our body that we're shocked at what it, don't be shocked anymore. Make the spiritual connection here. All the things that we're allowing to go through our eye gate, all the things that we're putting our hands to, all the things that we're thinking about. He is calling us, you and I, to suffer for him, for Christ, for the gospel. This is a tough message to preach in the Western church. Because we think we suffer, but so much of it is self-induced when we really think about it. When we really start to pray, we really start to seek the Lord. It's self-induced suffering. The pain we experience, church, might be the catalyst for the salvation of others. It might be the catalyst that lead people to a deeper connection with God. It might be the catalyst to miracles. Paul's obedience, despite his challenges, is a call for us to be faithful in our mission, regardless of our personal struggles or pain. Your greatest victory, this is the other phrase that I caught, that just caught fire in my spirit and in my soul. And I have we have a poster. We had a poster in our gym now, and now it's at home. But it says the greatest victory is found in your greatest pain. Your greatest victory is found in your greatest pain. What the enemy has done to make you feel the worst and hurt and brought about pain, there is a greater victory right in that same place. Some of you need to hear this morning because you've pushed away from your greatest pain. And I know that. I know it well. That's what I did. 35 years old. So the story that I'm telling you, I did not tell till 35. My parents didn't know that I was abused physically. I'm staying away from the one word because the kid's in the room. But I think you adults understand what happened. My parents didn't know. Nobody knew. I pushed that away. You didn't really even know to a deep degree. You didn't know. I would not go to the greatest place of pain. But now I'm running towards that. In the Levi Lusko book, it's called Running Towards the Roar. I'm running towards that greatest place of pain. I face it head on because there's victory found in it. I want to prophesy this morning that there's power. I felt like as I was preparing this message, I'm going to stop right there. This is going to be like a three-parter. I want to prophesy that there's power coming through your pain. I felt as I was preparing this that the Spirit of the Lord was stirring up the waters. Stirring up the waters. If you're bold enough. If you're bold enough to step into the waters, he's stirring them up for your healing, to receive power, to finally face what the enemy has done, in your life and produced pain in your life. God wants to bring about healing. And I know it's scary because you're like, no, I can't even think about that. I don't even want to think about that, let alone you're asking me to face it head on. Yep. Yeah. I am. Listen, Paul prayed 3 times that the Lord would take it away. I believe he was praying, Lord, take away this persecution. Take away this. And he prayed. So it is not ungodly to pray that the Lord takes certain things away. But then the Lord follows it up with this. And when he speaks, boom, we're done. And he says what? My grace is sufficient enough. For my power is made perfect in your weakness. Oh my God. I like, men, how many of you like, guys, you like feeling weak? How many of you like feeling weak? I made it kind of a life determination to not be weak, to not show weakness, to demonstrate an insurmountable amount of strength that was really not really being strong. Because inside, I felt like this big. And so externally, I made it my mission to appear strong. I don't think that's exclusive to me or exclusive to men. I think, ladies, you can do the same thing. And it's easy to fall into a place of a spiritual pride where people ask you and you're like, yeah, I'm doing great, and I got all this stuff going on, I got this. And internally, you're like the plate spinner on the circus show or whatever, they got like all the plates. You're just like, oh my gosh. I just want to encourage you that there is healing for you today. There is a relinquishing of an acknowledgement that I'm not okay. And it's okay. Like calling out to the Lord of like, Lord, take this. Lord, take this. This is what I prayed. I prayed some weird prayers throughout the years. I don't know if anybody's played weird prayers. I prayed some strange prayers to the Lord of like, I got so desperate that I'd prayed, take away any desires in my heart, because my brain was so crisscrossed that thoughts and stuff were wild. And I thought, if anybody sees what's going on in here, dude, they would think you're a psycho. You're really like perverted. I go, but when I was 10, 11 years old, something was flipped that should have never been flipped at that young of age. Enter the enemy, enter pornography, enter all these things, enter all this stuff. And so everything's twisted. And so I literally prayed prayers. I had to pray these prayers. Mark, I'd pray, just take it all away. Like make me just numb to all of it. And I'm married to her, and we don't quite have you yet, the kids yet. And he's like, that's not what you want. Like, you sure you want that? And I go, I don't know what I want. I just want to be dead to all of it. My grace is sufficient enough, for my power is made perfect in your weakness. You know what happened? I kept acknowledging my weakness, coming to him with it. I'm weak, Lord, in this. I'm weak in this, Lord. I need your strength. And what did he do? I'll be your strength. I'll be your strength. I'll be your strength. The denial that it's there is not helping. Or you saying it's okay, it's not helping. You're not okay. And people in your life know it. The Lord knows it. And so may I just encourage you this morning as I pray. And I just wanted to create some time here for us and you. Because I believe prophetically, I felt the Spirit of God stirring the waters of healing for your pain. Healing for the thing that literally has been there this whole time, that you have registered as the worst thing, and it is bad, but that God wants to take it and he wants to redeem it. He wants to renew you, restore you, and reactivate you probably in the very area that the enemy has come for. He wants to use you.